Hello, friends. Welcome, welcome. I'm super excited to see you here today at our very special live with the exclusive guest today. I've invited Rachel Marie Palінг, who is the game changer in the world of education internationally. And she is the author of the method Neurolanguage Coaching. So today we're going to highlight the secrets of language learning fast and efficiently. And after that, we're going to have an experiment. I'm walking in the shoes of my clients, and we would like to present the demo of the Neurolanguage Coaching method, the way it goes following the interview with the creator. And while I'm waiting for Rachel, she's supposed to enter in a minute, I believe, may share the history why we've decided to create such a cooperation in this interview here today. That's because we are constantly talking about the method. We are highlighting the strengths and the benefits of the method. However, all the time I receive from the clients and friends the questions, additional questions, because it's not clear exactly what can be the shift in the learning paradigm to perceive the language fast and efficiently. So that's the reason we decided to provide you not only with the explanation and Q&A session, but also this short demo. Excited to see you. This is the bright anticipation of the exclusive guest today.
Thank you. My apologies. It was taking time to send me the invitation, to let me get on. Modern technology.
So, Rachel, today I've just announced to the followers of mine that we are going to unlock the secrets of learning the languages fast and efficiently. And after that, I presented the idea to have the demo of the method where I'm walking in the shoes of my clients, just to show the way the method works. How does it sound to you?
Sounds good. Sounds very good. So,
yes. May I ask you just highlight the top 3 secrets to learn the languages fast and efficiently to your point of view, the most relevant?
I think the most relevant is to really bombard the subconscious brain with the language. And I think this is the part that we subestimate, and the part that we forget, and the part that we get very impatient with. And the perseverance and the exposure, honestly, is key. I think even the neuroscientists are saying that that listening part to languages, we just cannot underestimate this.
Definitely. Yeah. Bombarding yourself with the language is like learning by doing. And may I double check that with you, because I constantly receive that from my clients, the question. It's like, I don't know, how can I bombard myself if I don't have any international communication? Yeah. If I want to learn the language, but my next traveling will be in 3-6 months period, and I don't have such an environment, what would you recommend to do in such a case?
Firstly, you know, it's interesting because yes, we need to speak the language, but bombarding the language is really getting that subconscious brain exposed as much as we can. So that's one part where we're listening, understanding, writing. Those 3 parts are crucial. But then to get the language production, I would say if you don't have people to speak to yourself. Speak to yourself in the language. Have that conversation aloud. Instead of having it in your head, have it aloud and in the target language. Force yourself to try to have your conversations within your head aloud in that target. And that will also get that sort of language knowledge into language production.
Definitely. If I may share here, as for me, that there is that thing like coaching diaries works the best. Because I try to order them not in Ukrainian but in English. So I do reflection, self-reflection, in English.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, whoa, some words, it's not about linguistics, it's not about language, but some words can touch the bottom of your heart in English, and we don't have an analogy in our native language.
That's right.
And sometimes it's like, whoa, seriously?
Right.
It works like that.
Yes.
So,
Yes, and that's where you also discover your laguna, where you don't know something.
Yes.
And that's where you can say, okay, I need to know that. And you can go and find the word, find the expression, so that you can then integrate it into your knowledge. And I think it's so valuable to speak to self, because then you get that practice going. There's no excuse, okay, we don't have people to speak with, but actually there's no excuse not to speak with ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. What about the second secret? Which one will you highlight?
Second secret, one thing that really worked for me well, and again, I'm going to say what works for me may not work for everybody else. So it's everybody has to find their own way. But what really worked for me well, especially when I was learning Spanish, was direct translation. So translating from English to Spanish, and then Spanish to English, or Spanish to English, and then English to Spanish. And that really helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm. Do you mean from the perspective, I'm sorry, do you mean from the perspective of practicing, or from the perspective of comparing the languages?
I mean practicing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that sort of getting the brain to be switching from one language to another, even with translation.
Okay.
So you're literally looking at a sentence and saying, okay, how does that go in Spanish?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I've got an insight right now, because typically I deal that from the with that from the perspective of comparison. It's like I sound this way in my native language, but in English that would sound differently. But you just highlighted that it's about reducing the tension of switching between the languages.
Yeah.
It's like just to reduce the focus that, oh my, right now I need to talk English. That is so scary for me, because that is the mood of my clients constantly. But when you, it's like reduce this tension, you just can switch and play with the languages.
Yeah. And I mean, that could be literally written direct translation, or it could be literally interpreting, where you're interpreting, this is how it is in Spanish, this is in English, this is in Spanish, or whatever language you're learning. And it helps the brain to compartmentalize expressions. It helps the brain to consolidate knowledge as well.
This is an interesting idea. I'm just, reducing the importance of switching and translation for the sake of changing the languages. So that is about emotional brain. So when you reduce the importance of the preparing for the language, you're emotionally
and I would say literally there's nothing to do with the emotional brain. It's really just you're using the rational, logical, analytical brain. It's nothing to do with whether there's emotions or not, to just do a neutral translation from one to the other, and the other to back to the other. So it's just back. That's, it really is that sort of neutral exercise going into translation. No emotions attached, nothing.
Okay, if talking about analytics of that, is there a threat to be stuck in translating word by word? Sometimes there is a tendency when people want to say something, they just translate literally word by word from the native into the English language.
But I would say sometimes that might be possible. So what we're trying to understand is, when is that possible and when is it not? Sometimes you can do a direct word by word, more or less, translation. So again, it's helping to the brain to clarify, okay, in this case I can, in this case I can't.
Okay.
More messages to the brain.
Okay, it's like analyzing where I can and when I can't. Interesting. Yes. Okay. And what about the third one? The third secret of learning the languages?
Third secret, I would say, is to talk with everybody that you can. And I mean different ranges, like kiddies, teenagers, business people, policemen, you know, authority. So you get that sort of range of what's happening in the brain when you speak to the different types of people that you're speaking with, because often we do have that emotional reaction according to who we are speaking to, family, friends, unknown, etc. So the more that we speak to the whole range of different types of people, the more we get the brain more comfortable to just speak whenever we need to speak.
Okay, it's like playing different scenarios, like role playing in different aspects. It's like to be prepared, not only for one type of the conversation, only small talk with entrepreneurs, but any, just to be prepared.
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's what we do in daily life. You know, in daily life, in our native language, we interact with everybody. So how can we do that with our target languages? How can we interact with everybody and anybody and make it normal to interact? And I would say that then leads to the normalization of the language in the brain, which is what we want. We want the brain to take it normal. You know, it is something that we normally do to just trip in and out of those languages. And that's the major message that we want the brain to get.
Definitely. That's interesting. And if we started talking already about these different contexts to practice and the effect on the learning process and our thinking processes and the brain activity, may I ask you about kids? Last time I asked you this question, but today I had a talk with a colleague, and that was the question. It's like, what about kids? Is it possible to implement these strategies in teaching kids, especially neuroscience? And that is my question, because sometimes when talking about my son and giving him the vision that you recommended that works, but what about neuroscience? I'm stuck when I start explaining some things and I understand that, oh, it doesn't work, he doesn't hear me, and I can't implement that in communication with kids. So how does it work?
Okay, so with little kids, definitely we have to do it in their type of language. Their type of language could be colors, pictures, could be animals, could be those types of things that that child relates to and connects with. So maybe you could talk about the brain, different parts of the brain as different animals in the brain.
Oh, yes.
That are reacting in different ways. So maybe the tiger is the one that's the one that goes into rage, and maybe the tiger is I don't know, the one that's terrified is the whatever animal that he's, the snake that's whatever. But trying to see how you can help kids to relate, because under the age of 7 they cannot rationalize and analyze and logically think. They need that sort of connection in, they need that learning by doing or by feeling or by experiencing. So if they are experiencing fight or flight, trying to get them to share how they're feeling in colors or in animals or in actions or whatever. And then trying to help them build in those strategies to deal with that fight or flight state. Things that are going to help them to relax, maybe dancing or breathing or playing or pretending to be a dolphin or something. Whatever connects with them. From the age of 7 or 8 onwards, then I would really suggest to start to ask rational, logical, analytical questions, to start to stimulate them to make those connections. But it takes time. It takes time, it takes practice, and absolutely. Yeah.
No, I've got my answer actually about these metaphoric vision, about these pictures and the brain, and it's like by practicing, because right now at the age of 4 we are dealing with this emotional, not control, but at least naming, labeling the emotions. We are learning how to do that with the son. And I couldn't understand how to connect that with the brain, how to show him, how to explain. Now I understand that I need to go Googling the pictures with the animals inside the brain, or at least we've got the idea for people to create such a picture, at least. But that is the beginning.
Or maybe his toys. Maybe connecting it into his toys. Maybe there's an action man, maybe there's a monster. You know, and that will make it more real for him as well, connecting to his toys.
Yes, definitely. We started with the vision, and I understand that nowadays, as for the learning the language, vision works a lot. All of the time when he's demotivated and doesn't want to do anything, no songs, no playing, it's like, no, mom, in Ukrainian, please, I don't want that. But then when giving him the vision, what it's for, it's like, oh, okay. It's like, we need to go to the business trip with me to Europe. People are talking English there. So what will you do? Okay, mom, how are you? In English, instantly, just this particular second. Yeah. Thank you. We've got actually some questions from our readers today. How does it sound to you?
It sounds good. I've seen some of them, and they're really good questions. So with pleasure, fire away.
How to stop confusing all endings like S, ED, so on. What do you think of that?
I would find out. I mean, I don't know Ukrainian, so you can help me with this. What is the difference in Ukrainian?
S, it's like, oh, we've got cases. If talking about S.
But no, we're talking about, well, let me then unpack this. Are we talking about verb endings? Are we talking about adjective endings? I think there, the first thing would be to unpack which endings are we looking at? Because Ukrainian, you do have endings. As you said, you've got cases, you've got verb endings, etc. And in Ukrainian, your third person ending in the present, is it with a T?
First ending in present with I?
No, the third. He.
The third. Yes.
Right.
Любить, робить.
Right. So that T for us is an S.
No, sometimes we have the different. Пише.
For he.
Кає. Sometimes it's T and sometimes it's E or yeah. So verb endings. So I would find the analogies, yeah? So here it's like S ending in Ukrainian correlate with T or E, yeah, like this way.
Yeah. So I would try to see if there's any correlation. With the ED, I would say, you know, it's a case of learning those verbs, which are the regular and the irregular, and there, knowing German will help because the irregular verbs come from the German. And I think there it is a case of just creating, with the verbs especially, just creating a list of the verbs that you need, the verbs that are important for you first. So instead of looking at the whole list and thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to learn this, to break that down and just say, right, these are the regulars that I need at the moment, and these are the irregulars that I need at the moment. And I'm just going to focus on these. And then I'm going to build them up, and I'm going to build up with the next ones that I need. Maybe it's at work, maybe it's about feelings, maybe it's about actions. So building up those lists instead of having a list and not getting anywhere with it. And naturally, intuitively building up those lists. And then the third thing I would say, if it's the ED versus the ING with adjectives, there I would say, what's the difference in Ukrainian?
So when it comes to the S ending in as for verbs, and when it comes to the ED or ING for adjectives, like excited, exciting, it's relevant to find the analogy with your native language. But when it comes to the second forms, like do, did, done, write, wrote, written, it would be nice to connect that with German because they originally come from German.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, but when they don't know German, then to create small lists of the irregular verbs that they are going to use the most. The most frequent ones, not the whole list. Yeah. And Lisa is actually saying verb endings. Verb endings. You know, you have a lot more verb endings in Ukrainian than we do in English. That's the irony. You know, in English, we hardly have any verb endings. You have them for every single person. We don't. So I think it's how to help the brain to understand that actually it's a very simplified way, which the brain isn't used to. It's not the, I don't think it's the case that the brain forgets the endings. I think it's the case that the brain is looking for more complicated stuff. And it's that message of just getting the brain used to, I walked, you walked, he walked, she walked. It's the same for everybody. And sometimes the brain doesn't like simple because it's used to complicated. Yeah.
At the moment when people start unveiling the secrets of cases in Ukrainian, they understand that in Ukrainian there are much more endings.
Oh gosh, yes.
And when seeing this S ending only, it's like, oh, thanks God.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You know, really in English there are so few endings, but the problem is that they're all different. They're so different to what you're used to. And I think that's really the point. The question is, how can I get used to this as a new system and a new way? That's the question.
I see. I've just started creating that in my mind, and I realized that it's like, я пишу, він пише, ми пишемо, but in English, it's only I, you with A, write, and he, she, it, writes.
That's it.
That is it.
Yeah.
And as for nouns, дівчина, дівчиною, дівчині, and so many. And when creating this system, you understand that, whoa, your brain says, English is much simpler than Ukrainian.
And it could be interesting, you know, if you are a visual learner, everybody, if you're visual, to actually put down on the left all of the Ukrainian endings, and then on the right have the one word in English, so that your brain sees that's it for English. We don't have all those endings that you have, but your brain needs to understand that. That's the message that needs to come in.
So if talking about that question about the verb ending, so all of the verbs in Ukrainian with all of the possible endings in different languages, and then opposite the analogies in English, and just to compare, just to break it down and see it. No problem in English.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's getting the message across to the brain. That's the point.
Yes.
Because the brain is so used to going to the native language. It's what we've done all our life.
Interesting. Thank you, Rachel. We got the second question.
There was, yes, it was about articles.
Yes.
Is
there a secret to learning how to use English articles like a native?
Yeah. Now here I would say, firstly, bringing in the calm to your brains to say that articles don't exist in your language. So this is about new neural connections. It really is. And that should help all of you feel better about it, because it's not that you can't, you're not able. It's literally, it doesn't exist in your brain. So it's a little bit like the difference between the L and the R for the Chinese. They really cannot hear the difference because the existence doesn't exist in their brain. So what we need to do is we need to create new neural connections with the articles. Now, I do think that you use more demonstrative. When you want to say the table, you often say this table. And that's where you can think that in English, we really always need something in front of table. we need something. It's very rare that you would say, here is table. Very rare. So it's about getting the habit of, before any noun, maybe the trick could be as well, when you're learning a new word, say the television, the table, the book, with the new word. And that will help the brain as well to register. So when you say, I'm going to put this on the table, you might say in Ukrainian, I'm going to put this on this table.
Mm-hmm.
And just thinking, okay, well, when do I need the? And overdrive with the all the time. Mm-hmm. And once you've got that in place, then I would say to transition into the difference between the, this, that.
Mm-hmm.
But firstly, get the in place all the time, or a.
Okay, and then to compare whether where you need it or not. So yes. Repeating the word constantly with the article, and then understanding the reason to use the articles.
Yeah.
Like, what's the reason of using them? What do they give us? Like, what is the benefit of using them? What exactly they mean? Mm-hmm.
Yes, and actually Lisa is saying her brain doesn't register the need to use articles, and that's because they don't exist in your native language. So your brain is saying, okay, what's the point? But then it would be about me saying something in your native language where I'm missing out a word. So if you can think of a sentence, for example, any sentence that you can think of where you have maybe a preposition, and that preposition in my language doesn't exist, so I don't say it, but you're then saying, okay, well, that sounds strange.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is that for an English person or an English speaker, no articles sound strange. And if you're okay with that, fine, because normally we can understand you without the articles, but definitely we know that it's not correct language because it sounds strange without the articles.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be maybe like, let me put it the other way. If you always said in your language, this all the time, you would also say, okay, that sounds strange. So as an English person learning your language, Anna, how would I say on this table, on the table?
На цьому столі.
На цьому столі. So дзом is this.
Mm-hmm. This.
Right. So imagine I'm saying this table, this television, this book, this all the time in Ukrainian. You would look at me and say, Rachel, that sounds really strange. It's not normal that you're saying this all the time. It's the same feeling as us when you're not saying it for us. That's the effect that you're having on the listener. So I think it's more about, yes, the brain doesn't care because it doesn't know it, but then it's the effect that I'm having on my listener in that language. Because mm-hmm. communication is about me having an effect on the person who is listening to me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. This one, for me, this is the key. Just I've got this like, push inside. Effect on the listener, yes? Yeah. That what we transmit with the help of the article. What's the reason to use that? It's like the context behind the scene.
Absolutely.
By means of the articles.
Absolutely.
And then the comparison with the native language, that the scene that can help.
Yeah. So I understand the pain relating to articles. By the way, it's not only the Ukrainians, the Polish also struggle, the Czechs also struggle. I think quite a few of the Slav languages do not have articles, and therefore it's strange to have to use them. But it does make a difference. And especially if you're talking about generic or not, because I can talk about cats in general, or I can talk about the cats, meaning the ones outside. Mm-hmm. And there you have a problem with meaning. There you really have to understand that you need the article if you're going to show me a specific group of cats. So yes, articles have their importance, unfortunately.
It's like reading between the lines. Yeah, reading between the lines. You don't need to accept anything. Just saying the cats or cats, and no extra information. Interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I see that we don't have any questions from the chat, and may I ask you just to move a little bit into our short, like micro demo of the method. But before we begin, may I ask you about newcomers, about beginners? What about those people who do not know the language, like me and Spanish, different planets? So what to do with these people? Do they start instantly speaking while having this Neurolanguage Coaching method?
Absolutely, and this could be our demo actually, Alona.
I was thinking about German today, Rachel.
German.
I didn't think about
German.
Spanish.
Goodness. I would say, sorry, I'm trying to get my phone set up in a way that I can just leave it and sit back a minute, because I couldn't get on earlier, I was panicking with the connection. So let me get comfortable. Beginners, absolutely. You know, one of the secret with beginners is we need to get them up and running fast. We need to, because small success is going to get them wanting more and more and more. So if I've got a beginner, firstly, we're going to be looking at some mechanical goals, which are some grammar goals, and get them a little bit set in the grammar. But then we're going to be looking at mastery goals, where we're going to get them speaking the language right from the beginning. And we're walking with mechanical and mastery, building them up, building them up, building them up. And I think as well, curiosity, you know, and I could get you into Spanish very, very quickly just by focusing on endings.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
It is. And Liza, you know, we were talking about Liza, we were talking about endings earlier. Once you start patterning endings in English, you can then springboard into Spanish, French, Italian very easily. And there you get the curiosity going. And if you've got curiosity going, your beginner wants more.
Can we have this demo right now? Or?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sure we've got some Spanish speakers in the audience and some Latin language speakers in the audience. So absolutely. Ilona, welcome to our mini coaching session. And we're going to demonstrate a little bit about Spanish. And we can imagine that we've already had our session where we've set the goals, and the goal for today was to start to look at endings of words.
Okay.
To help you to start to come into very short sentences in Spanish.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Fantastic.
Right.
I'm ready to give it a go.
Excellent. So firstly, I want to say that, you know, Spanish and English do have a lot in common, because English actually has a Latin side of the language and a Germanic side. So we're pumping into the Latin one now.
Okay.
When you think about the ION words in English, education, preparation, demonstration, organization, they are exactly the same in Spanish.
And what about the spelling?
Exactly the same, except for the T becomes a C. And that makes the pronunciation a little bit different, because the CI is like a TH. So educación.
Educación.
Preparación.
Preparación.
Organización.
Organización. Fantastic.
Okay. What other words come to mind for you?
Revolución.
Revolución. Muy bien.
Okay. Globalización.
Globalización. Muy bien.
Generalización. Generalización.
Sí, lo que decimos es generalización.
Generalización.
Sí.
Okay,
Beginning, yes.
Oh my.
Well,
Sounds like German in my case.
Complicación.
Complication.
Yes. Televisión.
Television.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about those words?
I like that. In Ukrainian, it's like siya.
So do you say edukacja?
No, we have the different in Ukrainian.
I know that in Polish.
Mainly освіта, підготовка. We have the different. But in Ukrainian, we have something like глобалізація, революція, адаптація,
Right.
класифікація.
Right.
So,
certificación. Yeah.
I can see the comment of ours. Thank you, Lisa. Attention, attention.
Yeah. And what's beautiful is you're naturally coming into the sort of intonation and the pronunciation. Atención. Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Now, that's one type of ending with nouns. Now, let's look at some endings with adjectives.
Okay.
And then let's start to see if we can make some baby sentences together.
Oh.
Yeah. So, for example, we've got the ending ick. Fantastic.
Okay.
Fantastico.
Fantastico.
Yes.
Magico.
Magico. Mágico.
Mágico.
Yes.
Mágico.
Yeah. Elastic. Elastico.
Tico.
Drastic. Drastico. Yeah.
Drastico education.
Yeah, well, we'll come to masculine and feminine at some point, but for the moment, yes, you're right. You're right, you know. And let's look at another sort of ending. Phenomenal, phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Colossal.
Colossal. Adaptation.
And with the adaptation.
Colossal adaptation. No?
Adaptation. I have to go and have a look at the word adaptivo or adapción. I think it's actually adapción, not adaptación.
Adaptation.
I need to that. My brain's going to overdrive.
But I've got the comment as for Ukrainian. We've got освіта, education, but there is in Ukrainian edukacja, but this is, I believe that academic word like that. Okay. Lisa is writing that Spanish was her second foreign language in high school, and she feels sorry that she didn't know all of these things and tricks before.
But honestly, I think this is for all of us. You know, French, Italian, Spanish, they all have the same endings. None of us grew up like this at school. How quickly we would have come into this if we had known. And we could go on, you know, we could go on with attractive, atractivo, demonstrative, demonstrativo. And we could really go on with adjective endings, more noun endings. We could go into verb endings like optimize, optimizar.
Now I understand that I'm a visual one, and I need to see that like mind map. I need to create a mind map. But
and in a normal session, you and I would be sitting and I would be asking you, how do you want to make a note of this? And then we would be playing maybe mind map, visual, you would be creating your sentences. And now I would say, okay, if I give you the sort of word es, which is, for example, la educación es fantástica.
Okay.
You know exactly what I've said.
Adaptación es clásica.
Educación es clásica.
No? No? It's like no?
I'm questioning if the word you're using is adaptation. And that's the word that I'm not sure if it's adaptación or adapción. I need to check that. Anyone of our audience.
Globalización.
If you've got a Spanish speaker in the audience, you can clarify that for me.
Okay, globalización es drástica. Oh.
Sí, 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 la globalización es drástica en estos momentos. Sí, sí,
I'm
sí.
so proud of myself.
Yes. Now, this is literally how I would go with a beginner, just playing with it, whether it's right or wrong, just getting them into that mood of discovery and curiosity. Sometimes it might not work, doesn't matter. Then we put a flag and say, okay, that word's not like that. Let's try another one and see if we can find another one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we would build you up to start with as a beginner.
It's an article, yeah? It's el educación es.
Right, so there we would go into that sort of question of el is for masculine, la is for feminine.
Yeah, el corazón. I remember the name of this series. I don't know.
Yeah.
El is like article like feminine.
The,
Once again, feminine.
la.
La, feminine. El, masculine.
That's right. That's right.
But the endings are the same.
Well, the normal endings for the masculine are O, and the normal endings for feminine are A.
Oh my.
However, the thion ending, which we've done, is feminine.
Okay.
There's another ending which is really, really curious, which is ciudad, which is D-A-D, and that corresponds to our ending in English of T-Y.
TY. I would add here German actually, because I'm feeling that this is like the sort of the combination. German can help with the articles here. D does there. No?
But there's only L and La in Spanish. There's no cases.
Oh, okay.
No,
Oh, thank
no
God.
cases. El, La. And the word city would then be ciudad. University, universidad.
Dot.
D-A-D at the end.
Dot.
Instead of
Universidad.
yeah, and that's feminine as well.
Okay.
So
La
universidad es fantástica.
La universidad. Tots or tot? Tots. Tots.
The D at the end sounds like a TH in some parts of Spain.
La universidad.
La
Tots
universidad
es fantástica.
Oh, yeah, brilliant, brilliant. How are you feeling?
I am proud of myself. I was thinking that I know 0 words in Spanish. I was thinking that I would be playing with German a little bit, with Ukrainian, with English, but as a result, it's not so. At least I will be hearing what my acquaintances are talking about, because I've got acquaintances from Spain and my uncle lives there, and sometimes I don't understand what he's talking of, but now at least I will understand. Here is the article, here is like is something like that, so at least I will distinguish that, and that's for the perception.
Absolutely. And you know, this is today we're doing a sort of a demo with a beginner. When you're working with somebody who already knows the language, we're trying to find out what they know a lot more.
Okay.
So there we would be asking questions. What do you know about this? What can you tell me about this? Because we need to know, it's very important to know where somebody is scaffolding from. As a beginner, you're probably not scaffolding from anything. But we could find out, okay, as a beginner, what comes up for you in English, in Spanish? What do you know so far?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to me if I said that to you?
If being on the higher level, or just...
No. You as a beginner, what do you know in Spanish?
Hola.
Right. And you've actually pulled out, in that conversation, you actually said to me, El corazón. You pulled it out from your subconscious because you'd seen it on a series or something.
So somber.
The more that we come into this conversation, the more you would start pulling out things that you've probably seen subconsciously and not registered before verbally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got some pieces, it's like in the memory, and they're mostly from the television or some YouTube shorts or something like that. And I don't even know whether it's Spanish or Italian. And it's like but sometimes they're jumping up and I start no, I suppose it's no or not.
No.
No.
Sí.
Hola, no.
Mm-hmm.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Yeah. You see, it starts to trigger the depths of memory and things start coming out. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think this happens with all of us. We really think that we're a beginner, but you know, when we start to unpack what we have in our subconscious brain, we've probably heard a lot of other languages without realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fascinating world going into the brain and language.
Yes, pulling that out. Is it possible to jump into mini conversations with a beginner like me at the very beginning, just after these endings? Is it possible to create some mini conversations, mini dialogues?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I've done this in languages where I've been a beginner. I think one of the key things is to feel relaxed. So to feel relaxed as a beginner, not judged by the person who you're interacting with, and that the other person is helping with that interaction. So, you know, you might be slipping in some native words here and there that they understand, but you can start trying to come into using more and more of those Spanish words. Absolutely. Yes. Do you want to put it to the test?
Why not? Why not?
Vamos a probar. Entonces, Alona, ¿cómo estás?
Mucho gracias.
¿Sí? ¿Estás bien?
Bien, bien.
Sí.
Mucho bien. ¿Ah?
Muy bien.
Muy bien.
Sí. ¿Y qué opinión tienes de la educación?
La educación es drástica.
Uh-huh. ¿En Ucrania o en el mundo?
El mundo.
En el mundo.
Pública educación.
La educación pública, sí. Estoy de acuerdo contigo. Pienso lo mismo, sí. En España también hay problemas. En Italia también. En Francia también. En Inglaterra también. En todo el mundo la educación es terrible.
Terrible.
Pero hay profesores, muchos profesores que quieren cambiar.
And this one I didn't understand. This the key. Everything before that was clear.
Yes.
Before
So,
that word.
Muchos profesores
Sí.
desean desear cambiar. Change.
Oh, cambiar. Combinación.
You know, cambio de dinero when you go to change your money.
De dinero, yes.
Yes. Change. Yeah. Muchos profesores quieren el cambio, el change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sí.
Sí.
How to say I understand? I see.
Entiendo. Comprendo. Entiendo. You see how so much is coming out where you're just making those associations. Before, you've always seen cambio with money. Now you've seen it in a different context. Your brain won't forget that now.
Cambio dinero?
Cambio dinero.
Cambio dinero. Cambio.
Yes. That was
Dinero
a lightning moment, huh?
It's like money, yeah?
Dinero.
Like money.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's it.
How is it in your language?
Обмен валют.
The word dinero.
Money like гроші.
Гроші. Yeah. How did you feel with that mini conversation?
I'm excited. I like that. I understand that I can, of course, not all of the words. There were some difficult parts, but I understood that you mentioned that in Spain, if I'm right, that in Spain the public education no, it's not nice. Let's say.
Spain, in Italy, in France, in England, all over the world.
And lots of the professors change constantly because teachers, professors, like teachers,
yes,
professors, and oh,
yes.
I like that more in Spanish. Professor, professori, professores than teachers. Professores. Oh.
And these are the moments that you'll never forget now. And that's exactly what happens when you are learning a language, you're relaxed, you're enjoying, you're curious, and you get those insights. That's it, you've got it forever.
That's
Profesores are teachers. So teachers want, desear, querer, those are the verbs to want, change, cambio.
Cambio.
How do you feel?
I feel like combination. It's like different combinations when we change the combination.
Es una combinación diferente.
No. For me, it's association. I've got the cambio, change, but like combining something. But for me, it works like association. So cambio, like change. Mm-hmm.
So notice that the words you're using are exactly the same in Spanish. It's una combinación diferente.
Una combinación diferente.
Y una asociación.
Association. So, like this. Like TH.
That's, I'm going to say that's mainland Spain, but in South America, you might hear it as a Z sound. But we're coming into mainland Spain, so the th.
That's important just to highlight, because all of the time when I try to read the Spanish words, I sounded like German, because in German it's like Schmetterling, ich heiße. So, but it's important that you highlighted this not s, but th. It's like here. It's important to feel that.
You know, for me, Spanish is it's the most beautiful language for my ear. Everybody's different, but for me, Spanish is like you're constantly.
Yeah, and I was visualizing the dance as if I'm dancing.
Yeah.
But as if I'm watching or dancing and having this Latina experience in moving my body, because it sounds like that.
It does. It does. It's very soft. It's very purring language. You've got the R, the R, and the S. It's very, very soft. Yeah.
Yes.
How did you feel with your 5-minute Spanish deep conversation there about education?
Tired, but I'm excited, seriously. But that was like thought-provoking, and now I'm like after the gym, really, but I'm feeling, but it's a pleasant pain, you know, that sometimes you're learning and at the end you think, oh my, I need to escape, to run away. And sometimes you can feel this delight inside that I'm tired, but I'm full of the positive vibe inside, and that's like that feeling. So that's Rachel. It's amazing, and it's not only my work but the commentary in the chat. So thank you.
And you know what you've just said is key: curiosity and fun, and you know, I'm tired but I want more. And that means you've got a beginner that literally will go away and do things by yourself. You know, that's what you want. You want the beginner that's so excited, they'll go and start looking at all those words that end in ION, all those adjective endings, play with sentences. I had one gentleman years ago, we did that for a session like that. He came back the week after with about 50 sentences that he'd created himself. It was like, wow. And he was in Spanish is easy. Spanish is easy.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
The holy for the years for all of the educators when people say that's easy.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. That's what we want. And definitely, you know, it's It's recovering the joy of learning again. And in schools as well, you know, this is what we need. We need teachers to be able not only to spark the joy for the learner, but spark the joy for us as well.
Definitely.
Again. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, that was amazing. For me, at least, it's like just all the time I'm sitting and thinking alone. Maybe to think about Spanish learning.
Well, you know, you're probably going to be coming to visit me in Salou again, because we met in Salou a few years ago.
I'm planning. I'm just thinking how to implement this idea, but definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it will be a pleasure to meet you, your husband again, and I'm hoping next time with the little one, so we can test his English.
Yes. I'm preparing, and from time to time he's asking, Mom, when are we going to Reychel? I said, just a little bit.
I love it. I love it. And definitely, you know, that sort of vision of coming over and being able to speak. You've got the vision. And now you just need the Neurolanguage coach. I can connect you to some amazing Neurolanguage coaches for Spanish.
Oh.
Definitely. Yeah.
I'm sure that I will come to this idea, because in order to go to Spain again, definitely I will need some practice, and that would be really relevant. And not just for the dream, but the real potential trip. So yes, with pleasure. Reychel, the interview was the light demo, but as a result, I've got so much elation inside, and really this pleasant, tiring mood, but with the feeling of happiness inside. Thank you.
Great. No, and honestly, I know that you're doing a brilliant job over there in Ukraine with Neurolanguage Coaching. I know that a lot of our teacher trainers in Ukraine as well. We've got Marina with us today. Marina, hi. We've got Nina as well. And definitely I know that, you know, Vlada as well. All of you are so amazing with what you're doing with all of this. And I'm grateful to you for doing that. And I can't wait to come over to Kiev, by the way. It is on my agenda this year. So I'm seeing how to make it work.
Oh, with pleasure. I will be the first person willing to meet you in person and to give you a big hug.
Yes. It is definitely on my mind. It was on my mind already pre-pandemic. So absolutely. I'll get there.
I do know that it's gonna happen. Thank you. I believe that we will be closing this interview, and I want to give a big thankful words to the followers and readers today, and to people who were asking those questions and commenting and giving the feedback. That is amazing, because when we hear that is important and relevant for you, and you're writing about that, that's like the feeling of delight inside coming out. So thank you, Reychel, and thank you, amazing followers, for the time together.
Yes, thanks everybody. Thanks, Alona.
Bye.